Certified Weatherman. I hope you guys are doing well today. We're Friday, we're towards the end of the weekend, and if you're a regular on this channel, you already know the deal. This is a weekend forecast that we're doing here. We're not going to really ramble too much, we're going to get right into it. As you can see here, sitting at Friday right now, and we're looking at two areas of slight risk, which we'll go over as well, but I also want to divert your attention toward the hazard type for all of this weekend. And there is potential for a slight risk of severe weather from Friday to Sunday. We'll go over the details there, and then we'll also take a look at the fire weather. We have an elevated risk towards the, I guess you would call the, maybe the south central part of the western half of the country. It's a mouthful, so I'm not really going to be official on that. But we do have an elevated risk today and a critical threat tomorrow. We'll actually go ahead and take a quick look at that. Alright, so just as we do today, we have an elevated risk as well, and then we have a focused area right around West Wendover, Nevada, and parts of Utah tomorrow. So if you happen to be in an area where if you happen to be in this area and you're planning to do any sort of camping, shoot off remnant fireworks from the 4th, or just whatever, if you're using anything flammable, just do so with caution. Be wary of what you're doing, because you could start a fire and it could rapidly grow out of control. Not because you're intending to do it, but it can happen. But it can still happen. So be watchful there, and we'll go back, and now we'll talk about severe weather. Today we have two slight risk areas, and one giant, really kind of stretched out, trippy looking marginal risk area here that covers most of the country. First slight risk area is, what do you know? It's Montana again. But we do have a little part of North Dakota and a tiny sliver of South Dakota as well. Pretty much almost all of central Montana is involved. Missoula, Butte, Great Falls, and Glasgow, you guys are involved here. Then we have the western part of North Dakota and a tiny little corner of northern South Dakota as well. Then towards the southern part of the Ohio Valley, and then trying to work its way into the Tennessee Valley, we have our secondary area. Almost all of Kentucky is involved here. Louisville, Evansville, you guys are in play. You might need to be on the lookout for some severe weather, mainly damaging winds. Bowling Green, you're in this too, and then just north of Nashville, you guys want to be on the lookout as well. Have small parts of Illinois and Missouri in play as well, and then our marginal risk. Wow, it's a weird shape, but it's almost like an octopus tentacle. It stretches from the northwest all the way to the southeast, even stretching into the Florida Panhandle. This doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get any sort of concentrated severe weather, but any storms that pop up there, don't be surprised, you may see a pulse severe thunderstorm warning or so on and so forth. And then also, here's one thing that's really easy to forget. We have our additional marginal risk that's right around Maine. Have to watch for some thunderstorm activity over there as well. If we look at the tornado threat, it's relatively minimal. There are a couple of areas where we have 2%, mainly around western North Dakota and parts of eastern Montana. We'll have to watch there. And then right around Kentucky, we're going to have to watch that for a tornado threat. They've been talking about this for a few days, but I've actually been offline for the last couple of days. Lots been going on in my life, so it's been hard for me to kind of balance the things right now, and I do apologize for that for anyone that was looking for any videos from me. Let's go to the hail threat, and our most significant hail threat, of course, is going to be towards Montana and parts of North Dakota, but we can't rule out hail in these 5% areas either. And towards the wind, when we look towards the wind threat, the greatest damaging wind threat, of course, Montana, but again, we do have that slight risk available as well. We do have that slight risk possible, I should say, in Kentucky and parts of Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri. And we can't, like I said, we can't rule it out in these 5% areas as well. We go to day 2, and we have our marginal risk. It's a little bit more focused to the south this time. Pretty much from Texas all the way up to the eastern half of the seaboard, towards the mid-Atlantic and the eastern seaboard. There is a slim chance, but there is a chance that you could get pulse severe storms in any part of this marginal risk region. And our most focused severe weather threat is going to be once again towards Montana, but now we also will get a lot more of North Dakota and parts of Minnesota even in play now. We look again and towards Minnesota and North Dakota, that's where our tornado threat lies right now. Our wind threat, that's where our threat is most significant, especially towards Montana and parts of North Dakota. A little bit further west than the tornado threat. And then we have our significant hail threat around Montana and western parts of North Dakota. Still can't rule out any of the hazards where there is a 5% threat. As far as the tornado threat in the southeast, it's pretty much non-existent. I don't want to jinx it, never say never, because I've seen crazy things happen before, but I really don't think things come together for tornadoes over there, so you guys are good. In the northern plains of the country, in the northern tier of the country towards the plains, we're going to have to watch you a little more closely. So let's go to day 3. And now our slight risk has moved a little further off to the east. Now we're leaning towards more South Dakota and Minnesota. With Grand Forks and Fargo in play now. We have Aberdeen as well. And then Sioux Falls, you're kind of flirting with this slight risk line right here. We'll have to watch and see if this gets extended to you guys. And then our marginal risk kind of extends towards just north of Omaha, Nebraska as well. But we can't rule you out for a potential severe storm. And we do have parts of central North Dakota and South Dakota in play as well. And even Wisconsin, we can't rule you out. Anywhere else for right now, the expectation is garden variety thunderstorms, and that's highlighted in, I guess you would call it the lime green color. Feel free to debate that in the comments. But that's all we got for the severe weather outlook. Let's take a look at the temperatures. I mean, pretty much I don't really need to say much here. It's going to be hot for everybody. No one's really exempt. Some areas might get a little bit cooler for their low temperatures, but it's still going to be hot for everyone. The temperatures are going to be above average for the entire lower 48, pretty much. Leading all the way in and into the weekend and throughout it. Especially towards the southeast, we're going to have to be watching for triple digits, and then as we get towards the western half of the Four Corners and into Arizona particularly, we may get into the hundred and teens, so to speak. 110 plus. It's not very fun, especially if you are a landscaper like me. Also, just a little quick touch up on some of the severe weather that's been going on north of the border. That's been crazy. There's been damaging tornadoes and all. But yeah, it's just a crazy time right now during this summer. Summer 2022 is going to definitely be one to remember. Probably one that even goes into the record books. Just how hot it's been. Well, now that we've gone over that, let's take a look at what the radar could look like over the course of the weekend. Obviously, this is very subject to change because this updates every 6. The NAM 3 kilometer updates every 6 hours. Nothing like the HRRR at all. And we may actually take a look at the HRRR if we have time. I'm not trying to make this a super long video, but I think we're doing good right now. I think we're sitting at 8 minutes, or 9 minutes, I would say. I'm rounding it up to under 9. But we're expecting a lot of popcorn thunderstorms to be forming around the southeast this weekend. Nothing surprising there. Here's our little upper level low that's causing trouble. That's going to be causing our severe weather threat. Then here's our other disturbance here that's going to be causing our threat around the plains this weekend. But beyond that, other than the garden variety thunderstorm threat, it's going to be relatively quiet. The monsoonal flow seems to be kind of tapering off a little bit around the Four Corners region, so maybe this will give you a chance to dry off and reduce the flood threat. But that's really all I got there. We'll watch this upper level low kind of scoot offshore come late Saturday night and early Sunday morning, and that will be that. Since we do have a severe weather threat, I think I'm going to take a quick look at what the mixed layer cape is looking like. We don't have a great tornado threat, so I'm not super worried about the surface-based cape. Mixed layer cape usually usually kind of revolves a little bit more towards the damaging wind threat than the surface base Cape does. So I'm going to be focusing mostly on that. We do have some pretty impressive Cape values, especially towards the west. But our main areas of focus right around here, we're still kind of hanging around that 2,000, 3,000 joules mark. Come Sunday, though, in the late evening and early morning hours, I think the damaging wind threat will be a little bit higher around here. Because you can see those little areas of pink here. We're kind of surpassing that 4,000 joule per kilogram mark. Kind of leans more towards a line of thunderstorms, which also will lend itself to more of a straight line damaging wind threat. We'll keep scooting this forward, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. Cape looks a little lower right now, but that's natural to have happen with things being as far out as they were. But if we go back a few frames here, actually, you can kind of see a point where we are actually pushing towards that 5,000 joules mark. You can see a tiny little sliver here of white right up in there. We're actually going to go ahead and even take a look at the hordeograph. I don't expect anything. Oh, wait a minute. Hold the phone. This kind of has the probable hazard type of tornado here. That's kind of interesting. Actually, the lapse rates look really impressive here as well. That's kind of interesting and unexpected here. Temperatures are really high. We're really rich in dew point moisture. Don't get me wrong, I don't see this as a significant tornado threat, but we will have to watch that really close on Sunday now. So you guys around Iowa and parts of Minnesota, you guys might need to be watching this a little bit more closely, especially getting to the late evening hours on Sunday here. The severe weather threat might be ramping up a little bit more than expected. We'll roll this a little bit further forward as we get into Monday morning, into the early hours of Monday morning. Threat starts to die off, but I definitely think we're going to be pushing more towards a linear damaging wind type threat at the end here. Well, I think I'll take a quick look at, oops, I don't mean to click that, but I think we'll go ahead and take a quick look at the HRRR. Oh shoot, it's a new one. We'll go ahead and take a look at it anyway. We'll go to the 20Z HRRR. Just give me 1 second here. These little impromptu changes I made, I make sometimes come back to bite me in the butt every once in a while. But we'll take a more in-depth look at what the radar could look like tonight. I don't really think we'll need to necessarily, but just to kind of put that little bit extra effort in for you guys, I'll go ahead and do that real quick. As we said before, and the NAM 3 kilometer isn't really too far off from the HRRR. We can clearly see that we have pop-up thunderstorms in the south. Here's our upper level low, sparking off some severe weather, mainly looking like a line of storms here. Same thing can be said for the storm system that's in Montana right now. Damaging wind threat is most likely going to be the main player here. You could get a supercell that pops off a little spin-up tornado, but in all likelihood, I think we're going to be mainly looking at damaging wind reports and maybe some hail. But beyond that, I think things will be relatively calm in most parts of the country. But this is all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like. Appreciate it a bunch. Leave me a comment. Give me some criticism. Tell me how I'm doing. It can be good or bad. It doesn't bother me at all. But that's it for you guys. It's been Ty. I will see you guys later.